I should say good evening to some, good morning to others, wherever you're watching from today. We just want to say hello. We want to say, how are you? And I usually don't say hello, I usually say greetings. So I'm going to say greetings to each and every one of you today. This is the last show for, and not even a show, this is the last episode, last broadcast for this year. And I'm so excited to have my guest with me today, Pastor Darlene Thorne. And, you know, she's a woman full of wealth of wisdom, and she's always doing something. They're always doing something. But we're so grateful that she's here today and took time out of her schedule to just share with us today. We want to talk to the caregivers today. And one
Mhm.
of the things I was saying that's been on my mind is that I would like to do a panel of those that are caregivers or have ministries. You know, I have friends that have ministries for caregivers as well. And if we could one day in the new year do a panel and just encourage those that don't have anybody. There's so many that don't have anybody, no support, no support, and don't even think that their situation is bad enough to have support. Your situation doesn't have to be bad.
That's right.
But in the midst of your situation, you need to know that you're not by yourself. So, Pastor Darlene, welcome, welcome, welcome. And while you're here with us, we're just going to try to get as much out of you as we can. And tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, and those type of things before we get started.
Absolutely. Well, I am Pastor Darlene, as Prophetess L3 says, I am your caregiver's co-mentor, and I help caregivers take care of themselves. I teach them how to create the right boundaries and create priorities for themselves so that they can be more effective in serving those they've been called to. And if there's something else they're supposed to do, I help to dig that out of them so that they can really make an impact on the lives that need what they have. And that's what I've been doing for the past few years, especially for caregivers in particular, simply because I've walked the road. I've walked the road and continue to walk the road as a caregiver for my spouse, Pastor Kevin, as he had suffered a stroke several years ago and is walking through his healing process. And throughout that, I've learned some things that allow me to not only care for him, but to care for myself and for others. I think that's critically important that we share the wealth, that we're
Yes.
not being stingy in what we've learned, but we share what we have with others so that they can be free to do what they've been called to do. So
Yeah.
that's a little bit of what I
Well,
do.
that's just, and she's right. That's a little bit because she does a lot, but you know, it is critical that one thing about you, I can say, even through it all, you've always smiled. You're always
Mm.
smiling. You know, you always always motivating somebody, encouraging somebody. You know, to keep going, to do better, and I appreciate that so much. And as I watch you through these last few years, what? It's about 2 years, 3 years. Oh, wow, might
Three
it's about
three
three.
years now, yeah.
And just hear you and understand that you are a woman of God. You love him, and in the
Absolutely.
midst of you loving him, in the midst of you growing up
Growing up.
as a PK kid, you
Mm,
know, and
yes.
understanding what it is to be a pastor's a child, be a pastor's child, and now to be a pastor yourself.
Right.
You know, so all those things play into what you do, and I'm just so glad that you're here today. So I want you to take a moment and oh, here it is. I'm sorry, I couldn't find the link. I want you to take a moment and just talk to us about that caregiving, what that looks like,
Mhm.
you know, because you have been going through the process, and through that process, one thing about the process, hey Sandra, one
Mhm.
thing about the process is that you're learning. You learn through the process. So
Mhm.
I just want you to just talk a minute before we really start encouraging during this season. What in your ministry
Mhm.
that you minister to caregivers, what does
Mhm.
that look like?
Well, it is, and first of all, I want to say that it's an important thing to me because, as you said, I grew up as a pastor's daughter. And one of the things that my parents taught us is that it's not about us,
Right.
that we have really been called to serve others. We've been called to really share the good news of the gospel, and it shows up in a variety of ways. And so, what I found myself doing when I was a young girl, I was always around older people. I always like when we would have uh, dinners and we would have different get-togethers. All the other children, they might be outside playing, they might be hanging out wherever. I'm in the back in the kitchen with the older folk, and I'd be watching how they would be cooking and laughing and telling stories, but I also heard them encouraging one another. I also heard them talk about the goodness of God and how God
Wow.
took care of them and how God watched over them. And I was drawn to that, so much so that it became a part of who I am now.
Yeah.
That I'll find myself in the kitchen. I'll find myself in spaces and places where I can be of service to somebody else. And so it's something that started off as me sitting around in the corner watching while they told me, peel the potatoes, or while they told me to fold the napkins while we're getting ready.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's funny because you and your sisters was having a conversation one day. I don't remember what it was on. But y'all were having a conversation. They were talking about you. Oh,
Mhm.
your birthday.
Yeah,
And
my
they were saying how from a little girl you were always caring for somebody or bringing somebody along. And I remember them saying that was a part that's always been a part of you.
Yeah, and even when I was about 7 or 8 years old, I was attached to Mother Baldwin, and that she became my grandmother. Now, we were not related at all. However, because I would literally come home from school, rush to do my homework so I could go to her house. I
Oh,
would go and just spend hours at her house. Wherever she went, that's where if Saturday morning, can I go to Grandma Baldwin's house? And she would take me with her to go grocery shopping. She taught me how to cook. She taught me how
wow,
to bake. When she went to a family reunion on the train, she took me with her.
wow,
I became a part of the Baldwin family, so much so that to this day, we are all connected.
wow,
And
that's
and it
amazing.
yeah, and it's always been that way. Always been that way. And because she was an usher and she always cared for people, she always had in her bag, it's like the grandma bag with the bag of the plastic bag with the candy in it.
Yes, yes. And all the children come to get some.
So she always had things for other people. She baked cakes, made the most wonderful cakes. She would make a cake and just take it to somebody because they were in need. So I learned from her that she was a widow, and
Mm,
she gave to so many other people. She
wonderful.
she took in and adopted two young guys. They were like maybe 13 or 14 when they came to live with her.
Hmm.
She adopted two. She already had children, and her children were growing up, and she adopted these young boys, took them in, and cared for them.
Wow.
So I learned from her that you don't live your life just for you. You bring somebody along. You care about somebody. You help them to become better.
Yeah.
And so the things that I learned growing up, they it's like it kind of now I feel like it kind of oozes out of me because it's already
Already
inside.
in there.
Yeah.
When I think about that, I think about even my grandmother, and she would have us go to take somebody a pie or go to do this, and we'd be like, oh, kicking and screaming, but we would have to go, and after a while, it did make such an impact, um, because we didn't want to go and sit and have to talk to the elderly and try to
Mm,
have a conversation and all that stuff, but that was so valuable in our lives, and it taught us how to care for somebody else other than ourselves. And so I understand that part, and
mm,
it's easy to not be in a place where, in this world, in this time,
mhm.
nobody cares about anybody. Nobody knows their neighbors. No, the only thing, if you ask them about something, the only thing I know is they don't never come out the house or something like that. But they don't really take time to just like when we were growing up, the neighbors was family.
Yes.
They took time. They chastised you when you was wrong, then sent you home to your parents and tell your parents what you did. But they were also a part of your family. They
That's
did things together, when there was cookouts or whatever, they were there just as much as the rest of the family. So times have changed so much, and it's vitally important. My daughter keeps telling me stop using that word. It is so important that we understand that if we don't teach our children, then they won't know, because the
right.
society is definitely not teaching them.
No, society has really changed because when you even think about the whole notion of people going to church, it was everybody went to church. And then it was grandma sent you to church. Then no one now goes to church. And now it's come full circle where people are coming back
Back.
to the church. But they're coming back to the church and they do not know some of the things that we learned when we were growing up.
Oh yeah.
There are things that they are unaware of. The whole notion of caring about somebody else. It has become a consumer type of coming into the church where
Yes.
what can you do for me? What can you do for me? As opposed to how can I be of service to the kingdom?
Yeah.
And so we have to get back to that where those of us who know, I believe that it's in Titus where it talks about the older women teach the younger women the things that we know. Now it's time for us to pour it out
Yeah.
into the lives of those who may be unaware.
Yeah, I remember. Well, this was when my husband was still alive, but I remember when, as pastors, and I asked some of the ladies that were in ministry. I said, "Can y'all come and help clean the church?" And
Mm,
one of them told me, "Oh, I don't do that no more." You know,
no more. What?
oh no, I don't do that no more. So
Woo!
myself and the children, we would clean the church on Saturday, but I remember that so vividly that they didn't want to do that. That
Yeah,
was beneath them.
right.
And
Well,
there's nothing in the kingdom when it comes to beautifying the church or beautifying or representing. How about just representing
yes.
properly?
Yeah.
And so yeah, we got a long way. I don't know if I should say we have a long way to go. I think that our hearts need to be changed.
Yeah. And we need to be, I believe this with all my heart. And this is the whole notion of caregiving. If we, the way we used to do things at the church, when my, when Brother Wilkins couldn't come to clean the church because he was either sick or his wife wasn't well or they were away, us children, we got up 6 o'clock in the morning. And I think I shared this story probably in 1212 that, you know, I had that can of lemon pledge and 22 rows
Had to be wiped down
had
and
to be wiped down,
polished. Yeah,
polished,
yeah,
cleaning the cleaning the organ and the piano and the pulpit and the communion table, the chairs
Wait,
that were on the stage.
wait. Don't forget the
Don't forget
drummer and all his sticks and
all this. Oh
broken
my
and
goodness, yes, all of that. Don't forget. So these are things that we learned when we were young, that we had to take care of the church, the building itself.
yeah. Hmm.
That flows over into taking care of people,
Yeah. Yeah.
because you really begin to value those things. And a lot of times we don't value people, and we think that, oh, they can figure it out themselves.
I had to do it.
I I had to figure it out, so you can figure it out, as opposed to coming alongside to help somebody. We can make a whole lot of other people's lives easier if we would help. We could sometimes making a phone call and saying, what do you need? And even if you can't meet the need yourself and you know someone who can, do that. I think about the fact that now, because things have changed, we don't necessarily have to show up at a person's house, but you know what? Amazon can, Instacart can, the cleaning service can.
Yes.
So even if we can't go, because I live in North Carolina and the person I'm calling lives in Florida, I might not be able to get there, but my the wealth that God has blessed me with, the finances that I have, I can use the finances and pour into somebody.
Yeah.
I think if we get back to, and even the small thing of writing a note, putting it in an envelope, putting a stamp on it, and mailing it out. Do you know what that does for
Yeah.
someone who doesn't hear from people a lot, to get a letter in the mail that says, I was thinking of you?
Yeah. It's so true. And before you go any further, I want to thank those that are here. Pastor Jackie, Alfreda, Posh, and Sandra, and Tiffany, all of you that are here today. I want to say thank you so much for joining us. Everybody's not commenting, but I see you here. And I
Yeah.
want to say thank you so much. Take a minute and hit that like sign and subscribe so that when we go live, you'll know we're going live, and share. Someone today needs to be encouraged as a caregiver, not even just a caregiver. Something will be said that can encourage those that are alone during this holiday season, those that feel like there's nobody cares. Well, I want you to know we care. I want you to know that that's why we're here. And it's so important that you understand we love you. We love you. And we just want to see you keep going, hold your head up. Don't let this world get you down. Look, Temptations, well, they used to sing, that was my group, but don't let the Joneses get you down. Look, don't let the
No,
Joneses get you
don't let the Joneses get you down. Quick.
Yes. And keep your head up. Keep your head up. It's not the end of the world
That's right.
because it's Christmas.
That's
A
right.
lot
It's
of people are depressed at this time of the year. A lot of people commit suicide at this time of the year.
we
And a
do.
lot of people have people that have passed away around the holiday seasons. And we just want to come today and encourage you. Um, Pastor Darlene is an encourager, and I'm going to stop talking and let her talk. I think, Darlene.
Well, you know what? I like the conversation. So when I say something and you want to join in, that makes me happy. Because Alfreda, she put something in the chat. She said we need to get back to teaching the children morals and values like we learned, and I think that is absolutely true. When we have lost those morals, those values, and we don't pass them on, that is why when you talk to children and they lack respect. It's not that they don't want to respect you. They don't know. They've never been taught what respect looks like. In their When you think about it, when I mentioned about the whole notion of children not going to church, I looked at the fact that we're having children younger and younger. You have a person that's 15 years old having a child. They don't have the knowledge of what it means to really raise a child.
Right.
So they
Children
raise
having children.
children having children. So they really see that child as, we kicking it together.
That's right. That's my friend.
That's my friend, as opposed to that is my child that I need to pour in morals. I need to pour in values. So they're lacking those things. So that is why it comes back to us as those who know we need to stand up and we need to be stating these are things that we need to get back to. When my children were growing up, I taught them yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. Be respectful to your elders. Don't talk out of turn. I realize that you are important and what you have to say is important. However, we need to say what we say respectfully. We need to pick up after ourselves, clean your area, clean your house. It's funny because when they were at home, I kept having to say, clean your house, clean your house. Now that they have their own places,
It's clean.
it's clean. What? It's clean. So it tells me, I say this. I say, thank you, God, that they learned. It's what they learned. And I also see in our children the same. Oh, yeah, we don't answer with what? That's right. The answer is yes, ma'am. Can you repeat that, please? I didn't hear you. Yeah. None of this what. Ugh. But one of the things I also learned about our children is that there are characteristics in them that they have gleaned from their mom and dad, that they care about other people. And I believe that if we who know how to do it would practice it wherever you go. If you see someone that's carrying a couple of bags and it looks like it's too heavy for them, and you have nothing in your hand.
Does it really matter if it's
Oh,
heavy or not?
that's right. Just if you see something, you look like they look like they are in need, like they're struggling even a little bit, say, may I help you? Offer to help someone. And when if they say no, that's fine. That's up to them. However, one of the things that I realize is when you at least offer to help someone, it there's something that happens inside of their head. And I can say this from experience.
Yeah. But what did they say? Your mama raised you well.
Yes, your mama raised you right. Those are the things that if we could pass it along, if we can influence, if every person that knew what was right to do would influence one other person, we could make a difference in the world. If we would, as you say, come out of our doors and go meet our neighbors, get to know who's around you. I know that when my husband got sick and he had come home from the hospital, it was difficult to uh do some things. Getting the trash up and down the hill and all that stuff. I would get the trash down the hill, and then it would be a day later, and I would remember, oh yeah, I got to go bring the trash cans up from the bottom of the hill. Do you know some of my neighbors would just bring the trash
Bring
can?
it up.
You
Yeah.
see, It's those little things that make the difference
It
in
does.
somebody's life.
But if they're doing it, it's because you have been kind to them.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. And I'm
We
not saying it to say anything different than
Yeah,
what you're saying.
yeah, I
I'm
get
just saying that people respond to people that are kind to them.
you're right. You're right.
And
People,
one other thing about children that I can say is that children, a lot sometimes they're not taught how to be respectful, and sometimes they're in so much pain and hurt that they don't want to respond correctly. They
right.
don't want to do what it takes, and so sometimes we need to look out for that child and see what's going on with them. We are mentors. We're
Yes.
mentors to our children. We're mentors to children, those children that they used to bring home, and you know, you sit them down and maybe give them a snack or feed them dinner or whatever, and they like being there.
Yep.
That's because you're going beyond what you see and understanding that there's something bigger in that child than you see.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so I just believe that for the caregiver right now, the caregiver might be going through some really tough times. I mean, I saw in the chat that, when somebody's getting ready to get on the bus and the younger children will just run in front of them and not want to give space. So the caregiver is going through a lot, and sometimes that caregiver is a senior and they're caring for someone who is older than them or sometimes younger than them. They are going through a lot. And if we would just take the time, just if we could just say, how are you, and mean it. How
Yeah,
are you is not just a phrase that you say in passing, but really asking someone, how are you today? I'm asking someone, and I've sent people texts, and you probably got one, prophetess, that said, how are you today? Because I'm not saying from yesterday or from the I want how are you doing right now?
right now. Because if you say how you're doing, that's too broad.
Very much.
And if you say how are you doing today,
Yeah,
they have to respond to however they feel.
that's right.
Yeah, so it does make a difference uh,
Mhm.
that we care,
Yes.
that we care.
If we could show that, if we could
Yeah,
show that caring to another, I'm telling you, there is nothing like one person showing kindness to another. And I can share with what happened to me today. I'm on my way to the grocery store, and where we shop, the way they do the carriages,
uh-huh.
you have to stick a quarter
Oh,
in the
yeah, yeah, yeah,
carriage.
yeah. Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
was trying to find my quarter and I did not have a quarter. I had a dollar, didn't have a quarter. And so this gentleman, he had the carriage and he was finished with it. And I had the dollar in my hand and I said, I got to get change. He said, don't worry about it. And just gave me the carriage. I didn't have to put the quarter in.
Yeah,
So what did I do when I finished with the
gave
carriage?
it to somebody
I gave
else.
it to somebody else. And they were trying to give me a quarter. They had the quarter. I said, no. I said, Merry Christmas.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
those little things can make somebody's day. Some person could be feeling very, very alone, very, very unseen.
yes,
And when we do things like that, just a little thing, buying a buying a cup of coffee for the person behind you if you happen to go to Scooters or Starbucks or wherever, paying for the coffee for the person behind you. If you know that somebody is, if you just see it, if we would really ask Abba to open our eyes so we could see somebody in need and then ask how could we meet that need, it would make all the difference in the world.
it would. It would. And it's something that we have to go back to because we allow um, life to get in the way.
Mm-hmm.
And when life gets in the way, you're too busy to pay attention.
Ooh,
So,
that's good.
yeah,
When
yeah.
life gets in the way, you get too busy to pay attention.
So you get annoyed, you get aggravated because they're in your way,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And what were you talking about a few minutes ago? And oh, the school, the bus. Um,
Yes.
I remember my car broke down, and I was taking the bus to work. It was me, my daughter, and my grandchildren. And oh, my youngest, no, my middle granddaughter was little, still a baby. And someone got up and gave to give me the seat, and this young lady scooted in the seat. Young lady took the seat, and I'm sitting there looking at her, and she's sitting there like, It was open, but it really wasn't open. As soon as they stood up, she didn't even give me a chance to sit down. Never
Wow.
moved or anything, you know. And
Wow.
those children are they're in their own world. They're in
Yes.
their own world.
Yes. They
Yeah.
have become they've become a product of what they have seen.
Their
And
environment.
yes, their environment teaches them a lot. And sometimes your environment teaches you to look out for yourself. Because and they'll say nobody else is going to look out for you, so you've got to look out for yourself.
But think about it, a lot of them are. A lot of them are in that position where they're raising themselves.
Correct.
Yeah.
Because some of their parents,
Are not in a place.
well, a couple of things. There's three places they could be:
Okay.
on drugs, in prison, or no longer alive.
Yeah.
And we don't know which one of those. And they could be just an absentee parent because they don't know how to parent. So they let the children do whatever they want to do because they feel like they don't have control.
Yeah.
So there is a lot of work for us to do. And if we would, I'm telling you, I cannot tell you how important it is just to take one child. If you took one and began to pour into them, that can make a difference as they're growing up. Because when we look at the way society is, if those who are children now are thinking selfishly now, those are the ones that are going to be
They're gonna
making
be big and still so.
they're going to be making decisions as older in age, but maybe not older in maturity.
That's right.
We cannot afford to let our children grow up and not know anything. They've got to be aware of what's happening in society. They need to know what's happening in their own culture. That's why I really
Mhm.
believe how we need to embrace our culture, understand it, and teach it. Love our culture. Don't despise the culture and want to have something else outside of that.
Thinking that it's better.
Thinking that it's,
Thinking that the grass is always greener on the other side.
they don't know that the other side it's astroturf. It's
So
astroturf.
yeah, yeah. So so many true points, and uh, uh, I think the main thing that is needed is love,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
knowing the expression of love has died off,
Yeah.
and people don't know how to love anymore. And
Yeah.
all these things that you're talking about come through love and
Yes.
compassion, which is something that needs to be built back in our society.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that If we did that, our caregivers would be better as well. The caregiver may feel very alone because there's not anyone around them that's reaching out to them, that's thinking about them because of the things that we talked about earlier. If you've been brought up to look out for number one, think about yourself, not being concerned about other people, that's what happens in the arena of caregiving. So
Yeah.
we've got to do better. We've got to go back, I believe, go back on our knees and ask for forgiveness. That's first. And then ask for wisdom.
You know
Yes.
that forgiveness is top notch.
Woo!
Top notch.
I think we need to do another 30 days of forgiveness again. That's all I'm saying. I think we need to start off in January. Let's go through that again.
Love. Yeah.
And we'd be all right for the rest of the year.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
But
Mm-mm.
if we really thought about other people, I mean, because I'm in the process of writing an anthology. I'm working with, there's about 7 or 8 other authors that I'm working with who are sharing their stories. And some of them that they've shared their stories is that they have had other family members that did not or could not really help them as they're caring for a loved one. And I believe that if we really started to look outside of ourselves, how can we look to help someone? How can we look to um, pour into somebody else, even if they're not related to us?
Right.
Make it a little bit easier for someone that is in need. At
Yeah.
your local assembly, there are probably people that you sit next to in service who are caring for someone, but you may not even know it. That number is increasing year after year. The number increases. So I encourage you to look around where you live, where you work, where you worship. Find someone that is a caregiver. As you and you can kind of, I think in some cases you can tell someone who is caring for another. Some of them look very weary, very tired, very spent.
Let me tell you this story. I was a caregiver for my grandfather, and my sister had come from Boston to help. She stayed a week, and when the nurse came in, we was laying all on the side of the chair and stuff. She's like, "Oh my!" We was we was so worn out, and she was like, "Oh my!" when she walked in, because we was just like, "Hey." But here was a man that was vibrant till 90, almost 95 years old, driving and everything, and all of a sudden he just started going down.
Wow.
But it's this is the other thing. Let me encourage family members. If you have a member that is a caregiver, please help them.
Yes.
And when I say that, a lot of times we think because of the way we look at the person that's caring and say, oh, they got this, it's okay. But no, they do need a break.
They need a break.
They do need a break. And I'm saying that because I hear so many families that the nobody helps them.
Right.
Nobody helps them, and they're the only ones doing it.
Yes.
And you get burnt out
You do.
like that. That's how you would get burnt out. And I want to encourage those that are on here to really, and that's a part of looking out for somebody.
Hmm.
Give them, go to their house, sit while they go to the store or
That's right.
Just go take a nap or
Yes.
something. Give them an hour or so, whatever you have, and just allow them to breathe and get a breather because that's not an easy job, you know. And even when it's more like I think about my sister and her husband, there was two of them, but it still was taxing. It still was when she took, they was taking care of his mother.
Yes.
It was still taxing. So if you really pay attention, you'll see that it's taxing on somebody.
Yes.
You might not have a dime to give them, but if you can just give them an hour or so and allow them to care for themselves, go take a bubble bath if that's the case, go to a spa, or just give them the time to go outside of the house away from that
That's
condition
right.
and breathe.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's priceless. That is priceless. You can't put a dollar amount on helping someone come back to themselves mentally.
Mm,
Many caregivers ended up in the hospital.
right.
The caregiver ends up
That's
in
right.
the hospital because they got stressed out. They got sick because they were trying to do everything for those they were caring for, and they ended up in the hospital.
Yeah.
Ask me how.
And then you had those that are what fine, long as they're taking care of that person, but at the demise of that person, once that person leaves, that's when their bodies begin to break down. That's when a lot of them become sick, and the level of they can't even enjoy life because now they're in that position because they gave everything they had. Never, even if they took a moment while the person is sleeping and go sit down and read a book or just
That's
rest,
right. Mm-hmm. That's
it makes a big difference. And
yes.
I want to encourage them to understand it's not terrible that you got to rest.
Oh,
It's not terrible that you see something that needs to be done, but your body is saying, lay down,
your body
rest.
talks to you, and your body tells you what it needs. And one of the things I said to my brother, I said this, he was talking about going back to his job. And I said, listen, this is why you have a job that you go to from day to day. The work is not completed. It is
Mm,
not vital that you complete every single thing in one day. If it doesn't get done today, that's all right. Your rest is more important than a dish. Your rest is more important than vacuuming a floor. The rest is more important than putting another load of laundry in. Your
so
rest, your health is more important than any of those things.
so that brings us to another topic, not even topic, but go in and vacuum the floor, dust the furniture. Go in and do something,
Yes.
to help whatever way you can. If you can only do a little bit, do a little bit. Like Pastor Darlene said, it's priceless.
Hmm.
It's priceless.
Yes.
So, in the last almost 15 minutes, I want you to just flow, flow.
Well, I'm so glad for conversations like this because we don't have enough of them. There are people that are suffering in silence that may never tell you that this is what they're doing, that they're caring for someone. And some people they're caring for may not even be related to them, and they have taken on that responsibility to care for them, and they're tired, they're weary, they're frustrated, they're overwhelmed, and yet they may be prideful. It may be their pride that won't let them ask for help.
Yeah.
And that's where we, as the ones who are discerning, will see beyond that. We'll see beyond the fact that they look like it's all together. They act like it's all they've got it all together. But when you ask that question, how are you doing today, and waiting for the answer. You see, it's not walking down the hall and say, "Hey, how you doing?" and keep going. No, it's how are you doing and wait for the answer. Wait for someone to tell you how their body is feeling. Wait to hear that response. And then look for an opportunity to help someone else. The caregiver would so appreciate knowing that someone is looking out for them. The
Yeah.
caregiver now is able to let their guard down and truly be themselves. I've seen many caregivers who had looked like it was okay, but then all of a sudden, over a little bit of time, you can see that their bodies begin to age, and they start, you could tell that they're not really looking out for themselves. And that's a warning signal. That's a warning signal
Yeah.
that we
Yeah.
cannot allow those who are caregivers to get to the point where they are being burnt out, they're stressed out, they're frustrated and overwhelmed. So for on both sides, on the one side for the caregiver, may I encourage you to lay aside the Superman or Superwoman cape and ask for help. Ask for what you need. And for those who would like to help someone, when you ask, I pray that the caregiver has made a list of different things that can be done. It's all right to make a list
Mm.
and say, I would like, could you come over and, like Prophetess L3 said, can you come over and just sit while I go and take a bath? Can you just, I want to go take a nap. I'd like to walk through the mall. I don't want to buy anything. I just want to walk through the mall and encounter other people.
Woosah.
Yeah, I want to woosah. I want to take my shoes off and walk in the grass and get grounded. That's a real healthy thing, getting
Yeah.
grounded and just
Yeah.
coming back to you. You might
Yeah.
just want to walk around the neighborhood.
Yeah.
You might want to do some gardening, the thing that you enjoy, whatever it is that you may have enjoyed doing that you stopped doing because you were caregiving. Take advantage of those things. Make time for you, for whatever it is you desire. The Bible tells us that if we delight ourselves in the Lord, He'll give us the desires of our heart. Delighting ourselves in the Lord is becoming aligned with Him and His Word. And I haven't found, now maybe you know about it, I haven't seen it, Prophetess L3, anywhere in the scriptures where it talks about someone who is caring for someone else that they do it by themselves. I don't see any scripture that talks about you're supposed to do everything yourself. As a matter of fact, I see scripture that says, bear ye one another's burdens and so fulfill the law of Christ. I see scriptures that said, how can two walk together unless they be
Mm.
agreed? I see scripture where it says, where one falls down, the other is there to what? Lift them up. Even when Jesus sent the disciples out, he always sent them out two by two. He never sent them alone.
Mm.
What am I saying? I'm saying we don't have to do this alone. We do not have to be a caregiver alone. Ask for what you need. Be willing to receive the help and rejoice that no matter how it shows up, it may show up in the most unlikely ways, but be present and ready to receive it, knowing that God sees where you are, He sees the situation that you're in, and He may always want to be sending you help. And we may be saying no because it didn't come in the package that we wanted. Let's be willing to receive and to give. That makes all the difference in the world. And especially during this Christmas season, through the New Year's time, even right today, I will tell you this, there are people, Prophetess L3 talked about, there are people that are alone and they're trying to do things alone. Think about someone that you know that you can help. Help them come and hang their Christmas ornaments on their tree. Do something for someone else. And caregivers, I encourage you to do this. Invite some people to your space
Yeah. Just to talk.
just to talk, have a cup of coffee, tea,
Yeah.
drink a glass of water, whatever. Don't live in isolation because that's not the way God wants us to do. He doesn't want us to live in isolation. We don't have to do this alone. There's so many things, so many good things that come from opening up your home to others. Because then what it does is it allows other people to see how they can help you. They'll come and help.
Don't go to be nosy.
Right. Thank you. Thank you.
Don't just go and be authentic. Don't go trying to be nosy. Go to really help. Might be something very small,
Yes.
but just go to help. Um, you don't know the conditions of anybody,
Mm-hmm.
as Pastor Darlene is saying. So you have to be true to yourself. Don't go over
Yes.
there just to be nosy. Go with your pie. Oh, I just came to bring you a pie, looking to see what's taking place.
Oh, but and I can tell you this, people will know, people understand, people can see. They can see through whether you're being authentic when you're showing up.
Yeah, yeah,
If you're really showing up because you love and you care, it's going to come through. It's going to
hmm,
come through.
yeah.
And yeah, and don't try to take control. You don't have to take over. Just come and say,
That's
"How
right.
can I help?
That's right.
How can I help?" Absolutely.
That's right.
Absolutely. Man, this that and we only just scratched the surface of what we
Did we even do that?
I know, I know. There's
Did we
so
even do
much to
that?
this. There is so much that comes into play. It's the person being cared for. It is the caregiver. It's the caregiver's immediate family, if there is, and it's the friends that are surrounding them. Let me tell you, I get phone calls from folk just saying, "What you doing? What you need?" I have one friend of mine. She calls me on the phone. She says, go to your porch." And I went to my porch and she had dropped off some things that I needed. Didn't didn't even and did I said, "Well, what's the cash app for you?" I just heard crickets. She didn't even respond.
Hmm.
you know?
Yeah.
So people
Hmm.
people want to help. They do.
Yeah. Yeah. Even I have people that still call me from Philadelphia. I wish you was still here.
Oh,
I can't get anybody. If you was here, You would have taken. I would listen when I was pastoring,
Uh-huh.
and we had a Helping Hands ministry that was just for seniors, and we would send them a check every month. And some of them I had to take them to the bank to cash the check. And they weren't a part of the ministry. We just chose some seniors that we knew that just needed the little extra help.
Mm-hmm.
But I had always I've always tried to, when I first got saved, I wanted to buy a van because I needed to be able to pick up everybody I could pick up to take with me.
Come on now.
But I yeah, it was just in me from my grandmother, my mother, helping someone. It
Yes.
does make a difference.
Right.
It does make a difference. And to hear them call makes me want to get on the plane and just go back to that area so I can help, take them to the doctor or whatever, shopping, whatever. Sometimes I'd be like, I really don't feel like doing this, but I would go and do it. So that's another thing.
Wow.
You might say, I don't feel like doing that. But if it's to help someone else
Yes.
survive,
You
sometimes we have to. Not saying if you're beat down and you're exhausted and you're tired, I'm not talking about that.
right.
But I'm talking about you just don't want to help.
Yes.
That go beyond yourself. Go
Yes.
beyond yourself because it's needed.
Yes.
It's
Oh my goodness. Let me tell you, I will not forget when I first got home from the hospital with Kevin, and people would drop things off, they would send things, and it just did my heart so good because I didn't ask for it. I didn't ask for it, but they just knew and they would just show up. And so that's why for me, I just kind of show up for people because I know how it made me feel when people showed up for me.
yeah.
And I think if we would get back again, the beginning of this conversation, we were talking about how we need to be teachers one to another. We teach people how to treat us. And I believe that when we help somebody else, God sees that and He says, I'm taking care of them. Because that scripture that
Mm.
says, pray one for another that ye may be healed. I really think that when we're praying for somebody else and we're praying for them to get a breakthrough of whatever it is, and we don't think about ourselves, that opens up the floodgate for somebody else to be praying for us. And that opens up the gate for somebody else to pray for somebody else. And it is like, and so on and so on and so on, because we take ourselves out of the picture and we think about how what we have can really help somebody else. If we could just think about others, even if we did it one person at a time, once a week, think about somebody else. What a difference it could make in the lives of many, in the lives of
Yeah.
many. I believe that we have enough in our arsenals that there should not even be homelessness.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know that has nothing to do with caregiving, but I just think about these things. If we were just open up, and because there's buildings that are empty, put people in a building. They don't have to live on the street. There are stores that they throw away food because it's the night food and we can't keep it till the next day. That whole building could be fed. All I'm saying is if we think about someone else beyond ourselves, take the time to think beyond yourself how much of a difference you can make in somebody's life.
It makes me think about Alicia, when she was telling us about this. Is it Detroit? I forgot where. No, no, no. It's Alabama. There's this couple that has opened up a restaurant,
Mm-hmm.
to feed the homeless. And anybody that comes in the restaurant doesn't pay a dime. You can leave a donation, you know, and they have people that has that enjoys helping,
Wow.
that come in and serve. They have the table set up. They have the food. I mean, food, not a little bit of food, but they have food, and it's for the homeless.
Wow.
It's for the homeless,
Wow.
and the homeless can come in and don't have to pay a cent,
Jesus. Woo!
not a cent. You know. And I said one day I was going to drive over there and see, try, you know, not just try the food, but to give a donation. And also, and I can't remember the name of it, they also have recipes of some of the food. And they say, if you can't get here, here's some recipes you could try.
Oh, wow. That's
Yeah, and I cannot
amazing.
remember the name of the couple or the restaurant, but she was just telling us about that not too long ago. So, you know, there's so many different ways we can benefit. I can think about, and this is for children, but even Renee's son, my godson, Caden, he gathers every year hats and scarves for children that are
Oh,
less fortunate. And he's been doing it since he was 4 years old, and now he's 14. So his birthday's coming up this week. He's 14, so and he's still doing it. And the fact that there's so many different ways
mm,
we can help.
that's
We
beautiful.
can help,
That's
you know.
beautiful. Yeah,
Mhm.
so we can do whatever we decide we're going to do. And if we're
Yeah,
listening for Holy Spirit's guiding and opening us up, I believe that He would give us exactly what we need to help somebody else.
yeah. And we used to also go into the nursing home, and they would cry, "Please don't stop coming,"
Wow.
because they didn't have visitors that came in and see
Mm,
them. They would cry on Sundays and they'd be holding my hand, please don't stop coming, please don't
wow.
stop coming.
Wow.
The nursing homes is full of people that don't ever see anybody in their family for many different reasons.
Wow.
They're mean, they were mean coming along,
Hmm.
you know. Some of them, the children is just so caught up in themselves that they don't even come to visit them. So there's a lot of ways we can really extend a helping hand and
Yes,
see past themselves.
absolutely.
Well, I know it's at the top of the hour. Thank you. I know you have other things to do. I appreciate you being here so much. I'm going to get a panel together, uh,
Yes.
caregivers, ministries, and just hopefully pour into those that think they have to do it by themselves.
Yeah.
So listen, thank you everyone that's listening, that's on here. We appreciate you being here. Just take a moment if you haven't and hit that like sign. Hit that oh,
There it
that's a
is.
yeah, thank you, Posh. Hit that like sign, subscribe, and share this with somebody. We want somebody to know that there's someone out here that cares,
Yes,
even in the holiday season.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Someone cares.
Absolutely.
And Pastor Darlene, tell them one more time your ministry, your self care ministry that you have, or caregivers ministry.
It's called Refresh, Refill, Renew, and it is a caregivers ministry that I minister to those who care for others who are overwhelmed, who are frustrated, who feel alone, and I help them to create those boundaries, to create the priority that they should set up for themselves, so that they can be more effective, they can be free, and they can walk in peace. So if you like, please reach out to me. I would be more than
Yes.
happy to walk with you through this process, to make the investment in you, because you're important, you're necessary, you're needed. And so I would love for you to be able to understand how important it is that you take care of you while you're taking care
Yeah.
of others. Absolutely.
Amen.
Absolutely.
So give Pastor um, Kevin my love. Haven't seen him in a while.
You know what? He's over. He just waved at me. He's sitting right here with me. He's sitting here. He got a big smile on his face and said and waved at me. So yes, he's doing good.
Good, good, good. Thank you, Pasha, for
Yeah.
putting that information and appreciate it so much. And shalom, shalom, shalom. Who is CMB 909? I see you all the time. They said, love you, past Lady D.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. We got okay, let me get back on here. I gotta find out where they're at,
Oh,
where they're leaving their comments.
oh, yeah, mostly on,
Oh,
most
they're
everybody
on
mostly is on
YouTube.
Instagram.
They're on YouTube.
Yeah, I mean YouTube. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's a good space to
So
be.
yeah, I appreciate you being here. I appreciate everyone that has listened. You won't see me again. Prayerfully, the Father won't say, I need you to do this, and it'll be in the new year. So I want you to enjoy your holiday, your family, wherever you're going, be safe and know that you are loved and that not only are you loved, but in the midst of being loved, there's someone that loves you better,
Yes.
Yahweh.
Already.
And we can't love you like he loves you.
Yes.
So give him a try if you haven't. I promise you, he'll make your life better. Will things change? They'll change. Will things go away? Will there be no more evil things or anything like that? Nope, I'm not saying that. That's not at all. You'll go through, but you don't go through by yourself.
Amen.
He says, bring all your burdens. His burdens is lighter and give them to him.
Yes.
So try them. Give them a try. Prove them. And I bet you won't be disappointed.
Amen.
So until we meet again, I love you
Love you,
and
girl.
keep your head up. Keep your head up. It's going to be all right. And Pastor Darlene, thank you so much for
Thank
taking time out of your
you.
busy schedule. And
Mm,
everybody,
Cheryl.
shalom, 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 Pastor
Shalom.
Elder Rogers. She ministered last night on our platform. She ministered from Psalms 27.
Mm.
It was really a blessing. It was really a blessing.
I'll go
So
back and listen to it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So everybody have an amazing day, an amazing holiday. Be safe. Don't eat too much. You know, people like to eat so much and then they say, I shouldn't have ate all that during the holiday. I messed up my diet. Don't eat too much. Just enjoy yourself. Just don't overdo it.
Right. Right.
Have a good
And
day.
see you
Love
next
you.
year.
Yes, next year.